Now, last week, South Africans were hit with another fuel price hike. The chairperson of the Portfolio Committee on Mineral Resources and Energy believes that the spike in fuel prices and blaming international crude oil prices is not a good enough reason for South Africans. Sahlulele Luzipo is joining us now for more on his views about this. Mr. Luzipo, good afternoon. Thank you very much for joining us. You've made quite a comment there, to basically saying that it's about time that the country relooks or reviews the fuel price and how it's affecting ordinary South Africans.
Yes, good evening to Mr. Moyane and the viewers at home. It's true, but one of the things that we were grappling with as a portfolio committee is the issue of the fuel crisis that we are faced with as a country. We also understand the impacts that all these costs will be transferred to the ordinary consumers, and obviously that will have serious implications. And we also know that it is an addition to another crisis, which is the question of the issue of energy supply. So our view as a committee is that we need to find as much bright minds that can assist on how to resolve this matter. And that is one of the things that we have said. We want to open up for public comments to assist on how to mitigate against high fuel prices. One of the things that we have, for an example, said in the review is whether the location of the road accident fund does not have a direct also impact on the question of fuel pricing. And as a tax matter, is it supposed to lie, for an example, with the Department of Mineral Resources and Energy, or it should go to where it is supposed to be because of its implication? The second thing was the issue of the 15% that is applied as far as the freight is concerned. And that's one issue that we're also looking at, whether we shouldn't do away with the 15% freight rate, and then take into consideration many other matters. We can't just fold arms and say, yes, international pricing is a problem. How do we mitigate? We've got a duty and a responsibility for that.
Okay, I just want to pick up from there. Global oil prices, of course, as you said, we don't control, but we need to look at what can be done. That's what we're asking for input on that, and also how the currency fluctuates, the rand and the dollar, because when you buy oil, crude oil globally, they are set in dollar terms, okay? But on the 15%, on the road accident fund, that's a matter that's within government's control in terms of the levy that the finance minister sets up and announces every year during the budget speech in February and keeps on increasing. Are there particular views in the portfolio committee around the issue of the fuel levy?
Yes, that's the point that we are saying, is that if you look at it, we say it's more like tax. It's a road accident fund. Why shouldn't it be linked to, for an example, if you buy your own car, it must be linked to that, more like a government insurance for road accidents, so that it doesn't conflict with tax. And this is one idea that we are grappling with. But one other thing is that, in the point that we are raising in terms of the fluctuation, we are saying we must build a state capacity. For an example, if you build a state-owned petroleum company, you can be able to procure maximally as far as fuel is concerned, and it may not then be subject to international pricing, because at that given moment you may have a lot in your reserves, and therefore there is no need. One example again that we've raised in the department was that we could have exploited the serious low prices at the beginning of COVID in 2020, because prices were very low. And we think if we had the capacity, we should have gone to the market, procure as much as possible, keep it in our reserves, so that for difficult moments like this one, we can mitigate against that going forward.
Yeah, I mean, this country did have a sizable strategic oil reserves in the past, as we know, and it was the ANC government that sold those reserves. Mr. Luzipo, we wouldn't be having this conversation today. The ANC government sold them.
Look, I think I don't think we should run away from responsibility. I would like a situation where we say it is the same ANC government that went to court and the court ruled in favor that that transaction was irregular and therefore the state needed to be refunded that. The point is that what is important is we need to build in a strong system of accountability and consequent management. And this is just one example where you do the wrong thing, you must face the full might of the law. And that is why we said the department must make sure that it not only does it end with the retaining of the strategic fuel, it must also go and get rid of those elements, especially if there are some who are still within government.
Okay, now going forward, you are talking about the way forward. We are where we are. You are asking for inputs as the committee, portfolio committee, about really how to manage this and make sure that the fuel price hikes don't hit us all in our pockets and affect economic performance as we are seeing today. An hour ago, I was speaking to Agri SA, and they were saying farmers are suffering because of fuel price hikes, and they are forced as well to pay more for production inputs. So how do South Africans participate in this process of this input? What's next in the step that you, as a portfolio committee, have begun? What's next now?
Look, we have not been able to conclude. For an example, there are many steps, whether in our engagement as a committee, we may come up with what is called public hearings. We may allow public space into the public, but I can, from a chairperson's point of view, I can't make a decision or a recommendation. As and when that recommendation is made, it's going to be communicated. But I can assure you that before the end of this year, part of the program of the committee is to deal with the issue of the fuel crisis. And when that is done, it can take different forms. For an example, we may organize what is called symposium. We may come to the conclusion to say, Parliament, can you allow us to go to the people, listen to the different submissions that they can make. We may even just ordinarily ask for submissions, not even going to public hearing, asking for submissions with regards to what is it that is being suggested. And from that point, we can then be able to move on. But I can say now, there are things that we are saying concretely they need to be considered. And we are saying the department must take those issues into consideration, which is the point of the fuel levy, the road accident fund, the issue that talks to the strategic stock having the maximum reserves, the point that talks to the 15% freight rate, all those issues, I think that we are saying now, we must be attending to them with the agency they deserve. And as you say, we cannot run away from the fact that at the ultimate end is the ordinary person on the floor who is going to be on the receiving end of all the consequences of these increases.
Okay, thank you very much for your time there. That's Mr. Sahlulele Luzipo. He's the chairperson of the Portfolio Committee on Mineral Resources and Energy. They believe there are certain action steps that right now government can take to reduce the impact of fuel price hikes and their impact, of course, how they affect the rest of economic performance. Still,